everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you're tuning in, you probably already know the UCAT is an absolute gauntlet for aspiring medical and dental students. It's high stakes, the time pressure is intense, and honestly, it's deliberately designed to induce panic. But today, we're going to shift that paradigm completely. We're going to build your definitive cognitive toolkit, a systematic, step-by-step approach to utterly defeat that test anxiety and conquer the hardest parts of the exam. So let's address the elephant in the room right off the bat with a question. Is the UCAT an IQ test? I mean, you open the exam and see this massive wall of rules about people, their cars, and their favorite cake flavors, and it is so easy to feel like your innate, unchangeable intelligence is being judged. Well, let me shatter that misconception right now. The UCAT absolutely does not test raw IQ. It tests systematic deduction and disciplined thinking.
Actually, what you're really being tested on is clinical reasoning. Think about it. It's the ability to read a constrained set of facts, eliminate what's impossible, and commit only to what is provably true. These aren't just arbitrary test tricks. This is the exact clinical skill you'll use to diagnose patients as future doctors and dentists. A patient's history doesn't just hand you a diagnosis, it implies one based on the evidence. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the UCAT gauntlet, move into speed reading secrets, then mastering inference questions, conquering logic puzzles, and finally wrap it up with the clinical mindset. By the end, you'll be totally equipped for this. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the UCAT gauntlet, facing the pressure. And moving right into Section 2, speed reading secrets. Okay, let's dive straight into this. Our first major hurdle is verbal reasoning, where the absolute necessity is doubling your reading speed without losing comprehension. If you read at your normal day-to-day pace, you simply aren't gonna finish. To get there, you need a system. Here's our 4-step method. Step 1, stop vocalizing. Step 2, use your peripheral vision. Step 3, read with a guide. And Step 4, practice and have patience. Typical silent reading, where you sound out every single word in your head, is just way too slow for the UCAT's time limits. You literally have to train your brain to let the meaning pass directly into your mental process. So how do we actually pull this off? Let's break down the exact tactical exercises for these steps. To stop vocalizing, you have to occupy your inner voice. Try repeating 1, 2, 3 in your head over and over while you read. Or chant the word dash every single time you see a space between words. I know it sounds totally bizarre, but it physically stops you from sounding out the text. To train your peripheral vision, draw 2 vertical lines on the page indented by about 1 word on each side, and only scan your eyes between those lines. Let your peripheral vision catch the edges. Finally, to stop your eyes from bouncing all over the place, what we call saccadic movements, use your finger as a guide, aiming for just 2 fixation points per line. All right, Section 3, mastering inference questions. This is where candidates consistently lose marks, mostly because they confuse what is subtly implied with what is explicitly stated, and this brilliantly illustrates the difference. On the left, we have a statement, something explicitly written right there in the text. On the right, an assumption, outside knowledge or new reasoning not found in the text at all. A genuine inference is that logical sweet spot right in the middle. It's a conclusion that absolutely must follow from the evidence provided, making it highly probable or necessary, without just being a direct copy-paste of a sentence. Seriously, I want you to burn this golden rule into your memory. If you can point to the exact sentence, it is a statement, not an inference. Please don't fall into the trap of picking near verbatim restatements in the multiple choice options just because they feel safe and familiar. The question asks, what can be inferred, right? Not what is stated. So, how do they try to trick you? Watch out for these 4 logical traps. Number 1, the overreach. The passage implies X, but the answer takes it a step too far, saying X leads inevitably to Y. Number 2, the paraphrase trap. That's selecting a safe restatement of the text. Number 3, the partial support trap. Picking an answer that's true for one paragraph, but totally contradicts another. And number 4, the prior knowledge trap. Guys, this is fatal for science students. You might know something is a proven fact from your A-level biology, but if it's not supported by the passage, it's wrong. The UCAT passage is your only source of truth. Moving right along to Section 4, conquering logic puzzles. Okay, we're going to slow the pace down just a little bit here because to master decision-making, we need a really precise, methodical approach. 63. That is the number of seconds you have, on average, for each question in the decision-making section. Logic puzzles vary wildly in complexity, which means treating them all the same is a terrible use of your time. Systematic triage and incredibly fast tool selection are absolutely critical here. The golden rule for logic puzzles is this: treating seems likely as must be true is a critical trap. If an answer could be true, but is not completely 100% forced by the rules provided, it is wrong. Pure deduction is required. You literally cannot assume anything. Within the first 5 seconds of reading a puzzle, you need to recognize its type. That tells you exactly which visual tool to grab from your toolkit. For sequencing puzzles, you hunt for anchor clues that lock entities into place. For positional puzzles, you draw quick spatial sketches. For contradiction puzzles, the ones where someone is lying, you use systematic trial by assuming each person is the liar in turn. And for matching puzzles, which are definitely the most common type, you build a two-way table.
Let's look at the absolute star of the show, the two-way table. When you're asked to match doctors to vehicles, for example, you draw a grid. As you read a rule, you confirm a pairing with a tick or eliminate it with a cross. A tick in one cell instantly eliminates every other cell in that row and column. This method is incredibly powerful because it offloads the heavy cognitive work from your panicked working memory straight onto the paper. The grid literally does the thinking for you.
Now, what's really interesting here is this high-yield setup tip for your grids. Always place the most frequently mentioned entity category down the rows of your table, not across the top. The most referenced category is usually central to the most rules, so having it as your primary vertical axis makes cross-referencing significantly faster. It sounds small, but it'll shave precious seconds off your time. Because of that 63-second limit, you have to triage efficiently. Step 1. Read the question stem first. You often don't even need to solve the whole puzzle to answer the specific question. Step 2. Count the entities and rules to gauge complexity. Step 3. Scan for a highly restrictive anchor clue so you can start building immediately. And Step 4. If there are 5 or more entities and no obvious starting point, flag it and skip it. Secure those faster marks first. Let's move to our final section and see how this all builds together. Section 5. The clinical mindset. Let's synthesize everything you've just learned and look at the direct translation. The UCAT test techniques: deducing strict rules, rejecting unsupported assumptions, triaging your time based on complexity. These aren't just arbitrary hoops to jump through. They directly parallel clinical practice, diagnosing symptoms, providing evidence-based care, and performing emergency triage. By mastering these systematic test steps today, you are actively practicing the very foundations of clinical excellence that you'll use on the wards tomorrow. So, what does this all mean? It means you now have the tools. You know how to read at double speed, you know the difference between an inference and a trap, and you know how to let a two-way table do your thinking for you under pressure. I'm going to leave you with this final thought. How will you apply the systematic thinking to your very next practice test? Stop relying on intuition, grab your new cognitive toolkit, and go absolutely dominate your next study session.